Good morning and welcome to your daily Gameface. I am Dr. Kim Lannon here with Happy Lou.
Yeah.
Well,
Haven't you ever been like overwhelmed?
of course.
Yeah.
But it seems like a constant state for you.
Yeah, that's true.
Therefore, I'm here to lighten the mood.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Need it.
So, anyway, how
I
was
got
your
a
week?
meeting today. I hate meetings.
Oh, is that why you're stressed this morning?
It's one of the reasons, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm here to make you feel freaking happy.
Janet asked me, what's the meeting about? I said, if I knew what the meeting was about, I wouldn't go.
Well, I have to just say you're in anticipatory anxiety right now. That's what it is.
Oh, yeah.
And
I'm a king of that.
I know you are. And it's really going to be okay. It really will be.
Yeah.
Everybody lands on their feet, even when it's bad. Just sometimes it's a longer drop.
That's fine. It's just a lot. There's a lot going on.
You know what? But I made you happy.
Yes,
I made you happy.
You did.
So there we go.
Yes, you did.
I know. See, everyone's always concerned about how we're doing.
That was a gift from heaven.
Well, I give good gifts.
Yeah.
I know. Yay. Everyone's gonna be like, what is going on? None of anybody's business. But anyway, I'm excited. Lou, participate.
Yes.
Participate. Come on.
I'm glad you're excited. I'm technologically trying to get this going.
I know. Lou's having some lighting issues. He's having some backlight issues this morning. It's all good. Yeah. We're all here. Not everyone's watching. Everyone's just like listening.
Technology is supposed to be binary. It either works or it doesn't.
I understand, but
it doesn't work that way.
So I'm very excited. You're supposed to say, why, Kim? But
why are you so excited?
I'm so excited because Dave Russo, who was here last week, we're going to get back on track of our growth month, but
he booked another comedian.
He got me Mike Donovan, and he did it. It was less than 45 minutes after the show, and we were game on. Yeah. So everybody who isn't aware of it, but if you go to my Your Daily Gameface Facebook page, you'll see the flyer or the ad announcement for March 28th. At Time Out Boston down in Fenway. You can come and join me for my 12th year of celebrating the 12th Boston Marathon in a row. But the best part is that it's an hour and a half or probably more because they tend to run longer, but an hour and a half of two amazing comedians back to back, Dave Russo and Mike Donovan, coming in to help me out, raise money for the New England Patriots Foundation, which goes to 25 different charities. We give about $250,000, we give $250,000 out every year to 25 charities. And it's amazing. And I'm raising money for it. And $60 to come to the door and get in, and you get a $25 food voucher to go to any of the vendors in Time Out Market. If you've never been down there, it's so much fun, and there's so many cool little restaurants. And then there's, of course, an amazing. There's the flyer. Oh, what is all that?
It's just I had to put the page up.
Okay. Well, there's all kinds
last minute adjustment.
Okay. I'm like, what is that? And you
photos from your page.
I understand that, but I was like, oh, what's that? And there's all kinds of fun things. There's going to be giveaways. There's going to be raffles. There's going to be silent auctions. And then, of course, people that come will also get like a little swag bag that I'm putting together. So it's just a fun night. So it's 5:00 doors open, and it will go till 9:00. But the comedians will come on around 6:15, 6:30. So come on out and get your tickets, and come on down and have a good time in a couple weeks. It will be a nice little spring opener for everybody to come out and get out from under the snow.
Dave will go longer.
Dave always goes longer. Dave will go longer.
Over.
Yeah, and then Mike will probably go on time. But it will be so much fun. So come on out, and it's open to the public. It's not just for friends and family, it's for everybody. So it's a big open mic night, so to speak, without it being an open mic for other people.
Oh, you never know.
I know, exactly. For all the hecklers in the crowd. So anyway, and I'm doing great on getting almost to the goal. I'm $2,000 away from hitting goal. So, and my plan is to go over. So I'd love to get to 15,000, but right now I'm at 10.5.
Yep.
So let's keep going, y'all. So it's great. Still have a broken toe. Yeah.
But has training picked up?
It has
with
picked
the
up.
Weather?
The 75 degrees yesterday.
Yep.
It was fabulous. Training has picked up, not because of the weather, just because my toe's feeling better.
Yeah.
There's always something wrong. People always laugh and like, God, Kim, is there ever a year that you do this marathon? No, it's a common curse for this marathon that I'm never bodily ready.
That's a runner's thing.
Yeah, but
runners are always hurt.
I know, but I'm not hurt from running. I'm hurt from vacuuming. I didn't hurt myself this time from running. It was from vacuuming into a weight bench. So I have a little buckle fracture on my third toe. It's beautiful.
Buckle fracture.
I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see the fracture.
Ooh.
I know, right? And it's making me bounce because it's like, yeah. So when I'm slapping my foot down when I'm running, it's like really great.
You gonna be ready?
Probably not.
No. Still gonna be pain when you go?
I have no idea. We're gonna see. Well, my concern is, and I have to get out there because I haven't gotten out on the course yet this year because it's been 5,000 feet of snow. Even though lots of other people are out there, I've just decided over the 12 years I know better, so I'm just not going to put myself through it. But I'm going to get out there soon and start getting on the course and practicing the downhill because it's the downhill that's the problem on the toe. It's not the uphill and the flat. It's the constant downhill in that course that it happens, and then by the time you're done, it's like your toes and tops of your toes are slammed into the.
That's good because your fellow runners are a pain in the ass.
My fellow runners?
Yes.
Why?
With all the snow there's been and the roads, and there's no sidewalks, and they're out in the street, and there's puddles, and
yeah. Well, I haven't been out there, so yeah, my fellow runners. But when they're out there, they are out there on like the side of the side roads if they can.
No, they aren't.
Okay, fine. You know what's worse? Bikers. The bikers are worse. That's worse. So please.
Bikers are worse.
So.
And they should take the side roads, but they never do.
Okay. Well, if you're down in my town where I have my main office in Bedford, it's like the Tour de France. I'm not kidding. And it's because we have the bike path that goes all the way into Cambridge, Mass. Right. So they come off the bike path to jump onto the other side of the bike path and they go through. It's like, yeah. And they're all in their little outfits.
It's New England. These roads were built in the 1600s.
Yeah.
You can't take the main roads.
No. Well, especially through Bedford because you're coming through Bedford, Lexington, and it's like, the battlefield. Yeah. It's all good. So anyway, we're back. We've had a few weeks in a row of guests and fun things, but now we're back to the growth mindset from where I was talking about because people are ready and raring to go for your rise. Remembering that resetting your mindset, integrating it, standing up, standing out, evolving and elevating yourself to growth. So what I was going to get back to for the month, because next week I will not be here. So I need to give people a framework to work with so that they have something to work with while I'm gone.
Yeah.
And then go back and listen. Is how do we build an emotional growth plan so that we evolve mentally and physically, and it combines the mindset work, your habits, your emotional awareness, and body care. So it's like a one-shop stop. So I'm going to try to give people a framework today to build that on. And remember, I think was it last week? I don't remember. Remember when someone asked me about like, what's the main thing that you have to like think about? And I said, awareness. Were you asking me? I said, you have to, all right. Nobody pays attention to me. That's good. Well, I went back in my head and thought, whoever asked me that question, I was like, awareness is always the key. And, if you could get better aware of all those pieces I just talked about when it comes to your mindset, your habits, your emotional state, and your body care, if you stay aware, and as cliche, and I remember saying that, as cliche as that sounds, you have to have awareness. And people do walk around without awareness.
I was thinking
often.
I was thinking when you first brought this up, people aren't aware of the body wellness connection to this. They tend to separate mental health and physical health. And it's like they're so intricately connected.
Well, you can't have one without the other. And if you pretend, which I call it pretending, if you're pretending that they don't go together or that somehow they're completely separate, you are missing out on how to take care of yourself.
Again, just sleep, basics.
Well, sleep hygiene is one of the most under talked about things ever across the board. Whether
sleep and diet, right?
Sleep and diet,
yeah,
and exercise. But most people will talk about the exercise, but they don't talk about the sleep portion and how important that is. And I think it's like 1 in 3 people have a sleep problem, not disorder, but 1 in every 3 people has a sleep problem. Hypersomnia, insomnia, middle of the night waking up. And quality sleep is different than quantity. People think, I slept 8 hours, but did you get restorative sleep?
Right.
So, I mean, that's a whole nother show. But that's part of growth. If you're getting good sleep. Now, as you know, I have a cat that I don't know what happened last night, but she didn't wake me up for the first time in I don't know how long. So, and I think it's daylight savings has messed her up a little. So I'm going to go with that. And then as soon as I say that, she's going to keep me up tonight. Yeah. So she's 22, she's 22. Well, the 17-year-old too. I'm getting ready to put a diaper on her.
Oh,
that's a whole other story. Yeah. So, listen, don't you start.
I have 2.
I know, but don't you never talk about them because they don't exist in life.
Oh, they exist.
I know. Listen, you are there to serve them. So just remember that. Okay. So back to self-awareness. Let's stay aware here. Let's stay aware. Okay. So I'm building a framework for people. So start with your awareness, and to grow emotionally, you have to understand yourself. So let's take awareness around daily habits. I know we've talked about this many times, but here's the framework for the time I'm gone. So what you're going to do is you're going to take 5 or 10 minutes, and people I know don't always like to journal, but take 5 minutes to just, even in your notes in your phone, to just put down like, what emotions did you feel, when you woke up, or what are you, or you can do it at the end of the day too, but this is just a daily habit to pick up. Like, what emotions do you feel? What's triggering them? Good, bad, or indifferent, doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't always have to be bad, right? And how are you responding, right? So there's like a 3-step thing. It's like, here I feel great. What triggered it? Well, I have excitement coming in my life, right? I'm giving something positive here, and I'm responding by being more motivated and doing more things, right? There's one, right? Now we can take a negative one, and it's like, okay, I feel really upset today, or I feel really stressed out and overwhelmed. And what's triggering it? Well, I've got this anticipation for this meeting that's coming, and therefore I'm responding poorly.
Yeah.
Right. So you're having better awareness of like that process, right? And you have to name your emotions, and people often will just say, I'm fine. Yeah. You really have to name things like anger, overwhelm, sadness, happiness, joy, excited, envy, jealousy, whatever it is. You really have to be specific about these things, because
that's the work. That's the processing.
Yes, because that's the awareness piece.
Yeah.
When you just glaze over the question, how do you feel, and you don't give a full aware response, you're doing yourself a disservice, because you're shortchanging yourself. You're also sort of blocking.
You're burying it.
You're burying, you're stuffing, and you're blocking the whole process from even getting off the ground, which is why I say we have to start with awareness, and awareness in what you feel and what's causing that is super important. People will just glaze over like, well, it's just because this stuff is going on. It doesn't really matter. I can't tell you how many times I've had clients tell me, well, this happened, but we don't have to talk about that because it doesn't matter. And I'm like, no, let's go back. And then all of a sudden I unpack it a little, and they're like, oh, I never realized that. I'm like, yeah, exactly. Right. So, or if they have, they've stuffed it, right? They've dampened down and said, oh, it's not really that big of a deal, and that's not really what's causing it. And like, yeah, it probably is. So, and that's why people will say to me, I don't want to go back in my history and talk about that, because it really has nothing to do with what's going on now. That's like saying the mind-body connection doesn't exist.
Right.
Like, your history is what makes you who you are, and how you respond, and how your awareness is. Yeah. So you have to really go in and do that. So in the morning, take 5 minutes to journal, or to just think about, what emotions are you feeling? What's bringing them up? And how are you going to respond to them?
And oftentimes the glossing over that, or the burying it, is what's causing the stress, more so than the thing itself.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. So in that particular case, it's like, you have to say, what's draining my energy? What in that scenario? Is it because I'm stuffing it? Is it because I'm not talking about it? Is it because I'm avoiding it? So you have to figure out what's draining my energy around that, and how can it be different? What do I need to change in that to make it feel different? How can I be more fulfilled, for instance, like in that instead? If you take something from like the whole day process, like at the end of the day, you're going to ask yourself, because I would say, Lou, you're going to ask yourself, how do I respond to this versus how do I react to this? So we have to stay in response mode versus react mode.
Okay.
So, and that's just by being aware, like taking that moment. That's the next part of the plan, is right. Taking the pause, being able in the moment today in your meeting is being able to just take the pause and a slow pause of like, okay, absorb it first before you respond to anything.
Yeah.
Because it will make it better for you. Do you see the background?
I do see the background.
Yeah. I'm just making sure you see what's going on behind me. I'm like, this is great because I can see it.
Our Chromecast is.
I'm laughing because I can see
dead.
it, and I'm not watching screen, but I'm watching the window, and I can see it behind me reflecting back through the window. Yeah. It's like
pretty.
It's very pretty. It's on your head.
Apocalyptic sunset.
Okay. Okay.
It's my meeting this afternoon.
Oh my God, you're so funny. Oh my God. So in the daily habit of doing that, if you could do that every day for a couple minutes, then you're going to do like a weekly reflection that's similar, right? So you're going to make sure that you do what I just said. It's like, what drained my energy this week? What made me happy or fulfilled? And
what you're describing is a typical session, aren't you?
Yeah, it's a session that you're going to do on your own. It's like a self session, because what it's doing is it's building your emotional intelligence on a daily basis.
But everyone laughs at the how does that make you feel? But that's basically what we're doing.
Essentially, without saying like, how does it make you feel? You're doing a self analysis of how to manage yourself and how to be in the world in a more present way. And people just don't do that. They get up and they start moving and they get into their anticipatory anxiety like you're doing. And that's how they live every day. And instead, it's like, have a 5-minute session with yourself and a daily check-in, create a habit of doing that, and then go ahead and do your day. And then at the end of the week, do a stackable win chart, or in your mind. I'm a big fan of like writing things down about these things because it's good to see the visual, because then you can see your progress. But yeah, it's like doing mini sessions every day for yourself to make yourself more emotionally intelligent.
And the key is emotions to words.
Yes.
Because that's where the processing happens.
Exactly. Yeah. And you have to have the emotion that's not just a generic emotion, like I'm good, I'm fine, it's okay. Things are like, you have to be detailed.
Yeah.
Because that's what builds the awareness. Okay. So let's talk about the mindset, right? Because we're all about the reset, and people struggle with resetting their mindset, flipping things around, generating an alternative thought to the one that they have, because people get linear, right? They get that vacuum thought instead of the broad thought. So practicing the reframe of thoughts. So for non-technical psychology people, reframing means just taking the things that you're thinking about that are driving you down the one road that keeps getting you stuck, and taking that and being like, how can I generate another alternative thought or another alternative to what I've been thinking that's not so sticky? And how do you do it? You flip it. Like, instead of saying I failed, it's like I am learning something.
Yeah.
Right. That's one of the biggest ones that comes up, is if I do it, I'm going to fail, or I failed. And it's like, well, because something isn't working out doesn't mean it's a fail. It means it's needing to be adjusted. There's got to be a pivot somewhere. You have to, what did you learn from it? What are you learning from it not working right now? Like, so instead of it just being like, I failed, this finite thing, it's infinite in possibilities, because it's not just all or nothing. And people get so stuck in that all or nothing thinking and that mindset. There's no rising, there's no growth out of that. It's just, you're done. It's like it's a non-starter.
It's opportunity to learn.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I'm asking people to strengthen their mindset by replace reactive thinking, which is the all or nothing, with intentional thinking. So take your reactive thinking, which is that quick Eeyore thought, or it's all over, it's terrible, like it was terrible, like whatever. And with intentional thought, think, okay, how can I make my mind better about this? How can I strengthen this? Give it a boost instead. And so reframe the thought, or generate the thought that's different, or a couple different ways. You might have to write it down. I've had a lot of people using ChatGPT on this. People are so into AI right now. So I'm just putting it out there because I know people are like, I'll just go to ChatGPT. That's all well and good, because it serves a purpose for like having someone help you. But the whole goal is to get you to start doing it on your own so you can automatically do it. But if you need someone to do it, like I just gave it, if you say I have failed, instead replace it with I learned something, or what did I learn from that?
Yep.
So you're just generating something different. So you're practicing that. And then use the pause rule, right? Slow down. I often have people write little cue cards and put slow down, like in their bathroom, on the refrigerator, in their car. Because even though you're not reading it all the time, it subliminally becomes part of your environment, and it adjusts to your brain and the track of the neurology of your brain, and it just puts you into a pause moment. So literally it's a pausing of the moment, but it's also just slowing you down to thought process better, physically feel better, not be in a rush to do things or say things or feel things. And it takes you out of the reaction mode of your day and into a responsive mode, so that it gives you actually a more intentional way of living and growing. So you're more aware. You stay more present in your day.
The moment more, more present.
Yes. So when you're emotional, like this, people get emotional like you might today. When you're emotional, try to take 30, 60, 90 seconds. I know that seems like a long time, but even 30 seconds before you're reacting to just take a pause. And so sometimes, I think it was in acting school many years ago, back in my day, someone talked to me, this was before I got into full on psychology. Someone said, before you go into your scene, take a deep breath. And I'll be like, oh my God, this feels like forever. And they'd be like 4 or 5 seconds, but it feels like a lifetime. So when I say 30 seconds, it's so short of time, but it can feel so long when you're not being good at self-awareness, because you have to sit with some of the feelings that are going to come up, because it slows you down to actually think and process. But it's the pause in that pause that you actually will gain some growth, because it settles you. It allows your brain to come into focus. It allows you to actually be more present. If someone's saying something that might not land well on you, then you can actually be responsive, because you don't have to jump to the response. You can just take your time and be like, oh, I have to think about that. Even if you say that out loud, I have to think about that. Or you can make a pause and say, I'm thinking before I respond. Right. So you're allowing yourself to take that pause back. So
you said it a couple of times, and it's so key. Get out of the reactive mode.
Right.
Don't react, respond.
And it's not perfect. Excuse me. I just took my water. It's not perfect, but it's about building over the process of building resiliency mentally, so that you can actually just get better at doing it, so that more often than not, you're in response mode in your mindset, and it allows for the generation of alternatives to come up, so that you can be in a strategic problem solving, solution focused mode in life, versus acute bleed out, react, band-aid. Right. So it's
in the fight or flight. Everybody lives in fight or flight all the time.
Right. And so, and that, what does that do? That means your vagal nerve, your polyvagal system. That means your whole system that gets generated through emotional dysregulation is all out of whack, because you're always in fight or flight. And I've talked about it as wake up. I have clients that say, I wake up and I'm so anxious, and I say, okay, your periscope is up, right? So you're looking, you're searching constantly, even when there's no threat. Oh, that's pretty behind me. When there's no threat.
I can turn it off.
No, it's just funny because it just keeps popping up. But well, when I said periscope up, it popped up with that. But your periscope is always up when you're in fight or flight. So that means, think of the visual of the submarine needing that just stay below the surface, and you don't, there's no threat. Like, pull the periscope down, let it be, just be. And it's so hard for people, because if you've grown up like in trauma, or you've had a lot of negativity, or you've been in you grow up with a lot of anxiety around you, and you've been trained to be an anxious person, plus you were born with it, you're always in that mode. That's the general anxiety of the disposition of most people that walk around these days. You have to be so good at that first part I just said about mentally locking into awareness, so that your periscope is not above the surface, and because it doesn't need to be unless you really have a threat. Don't generate the threat. Bring it to a space where you're calm and you're safe, and you have like control over your emotions, which is why you take the slow pause. And
that's a big self-awareness thing, where you're distinguishing between actual threat, and, by the way, not amplified, but actual threat,
right,
and generating threats, because a lot of people threat generate all the time.
Well, yeah, and that's and when people say that, I'll just give the example of, like, that's when you're doing the what if what if this happens? What if that happens? Shoulda, woulda, coulda. Like all those are threat generators.
Yep.
And you know what happens when those happen? Nothing. Usually none of that stuff comes through. You know, like what if I do this? What if I don't do that? Well, I might as well not do it anyways because this bad thing's going to happen. And it's like, and 99.9% of the time, none of that stuff comes up. And you're like, oh, okay. Like, I know you're sitting in threat generation right now.
Sort of.
Right. But you're fighting it.
Yeah.
Right. So, but it's about like, you know, it's, if you take the pause and you just go with what comes, and it's like, you know, you're still going to go to bed tonight. You're still going to get up tomorrow morning. It's going to be okay.
Maybe. Yeah.
Okay. Oh boy. Okay.
Long day.
Okay.
Long day.
I know it's only 10:20 for us. Okay. So in building the mental resiliency, which I'm hoping I'm helping you with today, Lou, right? I'm helping you build mental resiliency where we have,
I do this work, but you made up an important point earlier. It's not linear. Some days you're on top of it and some days you're not.
Right. And so in the days that you're not, doesn't mean that it's just all completely gone to hell in a handbasket. Right. It's about really locking in on trying to reset yourself back into what you know that works and using the skills and the tools so that if you've already been building some process mental resiliency and you have good awareness, usually in those moments where the days are off, you have to just lock in harder to the mental awareness piece of, okay, what do I have control over here? What resiliency can I build upon right now or drag out of me to make sure that I stay okay? And the key to that is what I was just saying. Well, there's a couple keys, but emotional regulation. And in moments where you're having an off day or moments where you're anticipating something, the emotional regulation skills are so key because it's the vagal nerve. I keep pointing to my neck as if people are watching me. It's the being able to kind of control your nervous system through different things, you know. Sleep is a good thing, right? Yep. So doing it through, if you have good sleep, the less anxious you're going to be. If you have good sleep, you're going to have less problems with eating junky foods. You're going to be more likely to exercise. You're also going to think clear because your brain's not going to be in agitation mode, right? So there's a start, right? So if you have good sleep, if you don't get good sleep, well, then you've got to do some other mental techniques. Just I'm laughing behind me. That's pretty too. So one of the breathing techniques, and I'm not a big in session, let's do breathing techniques. If you ask any of my clients, they're going to be like, she doesn't do that with us. Yeah. If people ask, I will, because breathing techniques come down the line when you do the awareness work and then you've done all this resetting of the mindset. Breathing is just not going to breathing doesn't change your mindset.
Right.
You have to get to the point where you can just take really good breaths at some point, but I don't introduce that in sessions unless people ask or if it's way down the line, because a lot of times people have come to me and have had previous therapy or they've gone to other doctors and they say, you just have to do breathing work. And then breathing work without awareness and intention of how to be in your day is not going to do anything for you. And I think that it's unfortunately what a lot of people in the clinical work just do. They'll be like, we're going to do breathing techniques. I'm like, yeah, well, that's good. But then you're just breathing. I can tell everybody to breathe in through their nose and out through their mouth and inhale 4 seconds, exhale 4 seconds, and think of a waterfall. But without anything else in context, it doesn't work, which is why people say, I don't want to do breath work because it doesn't work. Right. It doesn't work because you have to do all this other stuff.
Right.
So when you emotionally regulate, part of it is good breathing. So it's not that you're not thinking about other things. You have to be able to do all the stuff I just said prior to this. And then, breathe in through your nose 4 or 5 seconds and then exhale longer. Because what does it do? Breathing, even a couple deep breaths, slows you down. It helps with that pause, reset moment. But you can't do the breath until you know that you need to slow down, which means you have to have the mindset that you have awareness. So you have to back that up to the beginning. You can't just do like breathing and then this is why people always say it doesn't work. Right. It doesn't work. No kidding, because you didn't come into it with the awareness of the response mode to then slow it down with the pause and then do the breath. you have to do those steps first before you go in through the nose and out through the mouth, right? And also, really quick on breath work, most people walk around breathing into their chest, uh, obviously, right? But that's not a right breath. That's not the correct breath. You're breathing, if you're doing it all like, from like, so breastplate up, that's all like sort of hyperventilation mode. That's just anxious breathing.
Yeah.
When you do really good slow down breaths, like a couple of them to slow and regulate and emotionally regulate your whole body and your brain, is when you're going into below the breastplate into the sternum and you're expanding it like a basketball through your nose and then exhaling and like pretending like you're blowing out all the air out of the basketball into the world. And you can do it with exhale like words, you can do exhale like sounds, you can do just really strong air blowing. But what that does is it settles the body into a space where your mind, wow, did you hear that?
Heard that,
Where,
yeah.
Wow, that's unfortunate for us. Where your mindset can really change because your body has slowed down, because your body is now likely coming out of fight and flight because you're taking the time after you've had some mental awareness to just check it in and really lock in. People will stay in fight and flight and up in that chest hyperventilation mode when they just do a few deep breaths and they think that they're doing good deep breaths because they're just breathing and holding it and then letting it out, letting it out. But it's not how it works.
Yep.
And when the benefit of this plan is great if you can do it yourself. But the real benefit is if you go to someone that knows how to do this work with you and teaches you how to do it like I do, or you watch someone maybe on YouTube that knows how to do it right? Because there's some really good people out there. But you really can't do good breath work and get yourself regulated emotionally by doing it without all that front loading of the other stuff that I'm saying.
Yeah, you have to accomplish the physical regulation too.
Exactly. So in doing that, so here's the next technique part of that for emotional regulation is emotional processing. And people are like, oh God, I don't want to do that, right?
Yeah.
Here, and this goes back to the sort of the beginning, but emotional regulation in the body to get it is emotional process. So what do? You feel it, you name it, right? You understand it, and then you choose your response. That gives you control. So when people feel something, they don't usually name it, they don't usually understand it, and then they react.
Yeah.
Right. So this is about feel it, name it, understand it, like understand where it's coming from. Why is it coming from? This happens very quickly too. It's so much better to take the 10 seconds to end up being in a response mode than feel something, react. That's a millisecond thing, but take the 10 seconds to really figure out how to process the emotions, and then automatically that will start becoming a millisecond kind of thing, because you'll get trained automatically into replacing and relearning over time the other response that you do. Everything you've learned that's unhealthy and toxic or negative to yourself and your body and your emotional regulations, you can unlearn it by doing this. Mm-hmm. But it takes time, because if you're 50 and you've been doing this thing forever, you're going to take, maybe a year or two of practicing this to get into a better mode. And nothing's perfect, but it will be way better because it will be more healthy and over time. So the goal here would be to avoid impulsive reactions and impulsive behaviors that get you into trouble. And also, it will also help for bottling up emotions, which also, so both sides of that spectrum, if you think of it as a continuum, both sides or both edges of that end in physical diseases, mental disorders. Like, this is why people have high blood pressure from stuffing emotionally. People get high blood pressure, obviously from genetics, but also, and bad food and other things. But when we're stuffers and we stuff down and bottle up emotions, and we're not doing like the feel it, name it, understand it, and choose a response, then we're doing damage to ourselves in some way. People end up eating more, end up with diabetes. Like, the chain of events that goes from the mind-body connection of this is so important for people to understand, because you're not growing if you don't stay in awareness to do this. So feel it, name it, understand it, and choose a response. If you can feel it, name it, and understand it, the likelihood is you're going to have a plethora of generated ideas in your head of how to respond to something. And sometimes, and this is what I think a lot of my clients enjoy about this plan that they've been doing, is that sometimes no response gives them better outcomes, because instead of having to feel like I have to react to that. Instead, it's like, what are you going to do? What's the end goal of that? Because if the end goal is that you just want to be heard, okay, as long as you're okay with that.
Yeah.
Right. If your goal, like many people's goal, is that I feel it, I name it, I understand it, and I still react. Well, if your goal is to do that because you want someone else to change and either agree with you or pat you on the back or what, forget it. It's not going to happen. I have a client that I'm working with forever that he constantly, he asked me the same question, I think, on a weekly basis. For years, he's like, why does his partner, why does she never like get it? And I'm like, because you're trying to change her.
Yeah.
And she doesn't want to change. And you're trying to prove to her constantly that you're right and that you're and you're not. And and
well, there's that too. Yeah.
And so we have to process that, but he's into the feeling it, but not naming it and understanding it. He just wants to, he's in the right fight. And so the right fight is about winning and not understanding it and not knowing where it comes from. And
even being right, not right.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
All the different types of right. Yeah. Right. Okay. So along with the emotional regulation, we have physical regulation for our mental health as well. So, your brain and body are connected, obviously. So when we do things like strength training, people are like, oh, here we go with exercise. But it's true. When you do like strength training, cardiovascular workouts, even if you do if you're not a big exerciser, go up and down the stairs a few times, pick up, 2-pound weights and just have them next to the TV and be like doing so basic. Do some stretching. People bypass stretching all the time. I've got a couple new people that are on this plan that have started working out, and they're doing 4 or 5 days a week, but they don't do any stretching because they're like, why? Well, because that gives your body the pause, and it also elongates your body to kind of sort of be open to like more strength and more flexibility and more building of like your whole body mind connection. So being able to do that as part of your daily plan, and even if you wake up in the morning, you do like that big stretch out in bed, that even if you do that for like 30 seconds to a minute, that's better than the nothing. Because if you sit all day, for instance, or something like that, right? So your strength training and your cardio are important. You should try to do strength training a couple times a week for 10 minutes. I ask people to do 10 minutes a day. That's, and if you are not good at that, you don't know how to do it, certainly find someone like me to help you, or go to a personal trainer. If you can't afford that, you know what? There's YouTube. Yeah. There's really good personal trainers on YouTube and on regular like Sling TV or any of those that have 10-minute shows that show you how to do it. So, I'm a very good person to find a reason out of people's reasons why they can't do things. Like when they say, well, I don't have any resources to get somebody to, oh yes, they're all there and they're free.
And how many times has a client come to you when they've started doing some physical activity? Has it made a radical change for them?
Oh, many times.
And it's almost immediate.
Many times. Yeah. When people are on board and they really do the plans that I give them, I have 18 clients right now. I keep track of like different types of clients. I have 18 clients right now that solely are doing like weight loss, functional medicine, like body mind change for their health and wellness, right?
And that physical activity is such a game changer.
And all 18 of them, minus 2 that had to do a flip because they were like, I'm not doing the exercise, right?
Yep.
They're all on board now. And the 2 that weren't initially, they suffered and they had what I call their physical wellness relapse, right? Because they gained more weight. They weren't following the plan, but the plan is part of what I've got going on, like what I'm saying here now, but for weight loss and mental health. But every single one of them either was already exercising and is up that game, or they weren't exercising at all and added it in. And just the amount of change in their life and how they feel is, I mean, they all talk about it in different ways. And the age range is from like 19 years old all the way up to, I think my oldest is like 71 doing it, 72, right? Like totally different.
And it's a game changer. It gets you in the moment. It gets you out of the carousel.
Exactly.
For a while, it gives you time for yourself, and it's such a game changer.
And people think of exercise as just exercise, not as it's a bonus for your body and mind. I always say it's not just exercise. We don't exercise just to exercise. Let's not make it like this dread thing. It's more about like, how is this going to change my mood? How is this going to build my confidence? And how is this going to give me more emotional stability? Because that's what exercise is. It's your emotional stability. It changes your mood. How many times have you gone and you've worked out and then afterwards you're like, oh, I'm glad I did that.
Yeah.
Right? Even though you're like, I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to go outside and run. And then after you've done it, it's like your whole mind is different. Like your whole attitude is different. It's like when you have a good sleep. And that's why you say sleep on it, because the next day, the thing that you were whatever has changed. Maybe the circumstance hasn't, but your thoughts about it have. Similar to like the exercise, regulating in, having awareness and saying, you know what, I'm going to go for a run, or I'm going to go on the treadmill, or I'm going to go on the elliptical, or I'm going to do the thing that's going to change my mode. And every time that happens, even in little increments, it's a stackable win. And what do you get? Yeah. You get that mood change. You build your confidence.
It's a quantifiable win.
Yes.
And all the stress that you're dealing with, all the anxiety you deal with is not quantifiable, and it's not a win.
Exactly.
But you go in the gym, you do what you're going to do, you accomplish something.
Right. And so that's why, so to the point about the win, you're going to build in this plan, you're building discipline through small wins.
Yep.
Like think of like, I always am so visual with this. I think of like every time you have a small win, it's like a firework or a fire, like going up, like, cause you're on fire, you have to think of it in a, like I'm going to burn to do this. I have to, it has so much purpose to do this. So, you have to start with non-negotiables in your day. So, yep, I'm asking you to be aware, and I'm asking you to take your pauses. But when it comes to emotional regulation around using your physical body, make them non-negotiables. Like exercise is a non-negotiable every day. 5 minutes a day or 50 minutes a day, as long as you meet that as a non-negotiable, make it happen, right? So exercise, learn something new today. That's a non-negotiable for me. I try to learn something new every day. Sometimes I learn way too much. Sometimes and sometimes it's a struggle to find something to learn, but try to learn. So my 3 non-negotiables are exercise, as you know, learning something new every day, and reflecting every day on the day. Like the 3, I always am like 3 things that happen that are good, or that I think are wins for the day. Mm-hmm. If you can't come up with 3, as long as you can come up with 1, that's fine. Or you can journal, right? So make sure you have daily non-negotiables that you commit to yourself, because that helps you regulate in, because it gives you purpose. It gives you something to look forward to, and it makes you feel good about you, and it keeps in line with your self boundary, right? That you're not doing for others all the time, that you have to do for yourself, right? I had a client a couple of weeks ago that came in, and all she does is she does for everybody. And, the tears were flowing, because that's what she does. She does for everybody, but then doesn't take time for herself. And I'm like, you're going to leave my office today, and instead of going back to work, you're going to go do this thing. And I gave her an assignment. She's like, but what if the people at work get upset with me? I'm like, you're already out of work. You take the time off for the scheduled appointment. They're not going to know if you come back an extra half an hour late. They're just not going to know. This particular, some places would, but and she's like, oh, but what? I'm like, just do it. And she did it. And she was like, this was so good, because, but it was me giving her permission instead of herself giving herself permission, because it's that guilt and shame and, like feeling like she's doing something bad. God forbid that she'd do something for herself. I'm like, you just go do something for yourself.
She's threat generated. What are they going to think?
What are they going to think at work? Right. Exactly. So I gave her the out, but it was, because she could say, well, my doctor said I had to do this. So, and she ended up saying that to somebody, I guess that's what I hear. And that she ended up saying like, oh, I thought she said, I thought you'd be upset. And Dr. Kim said to go out and do this thing. And but I had to, show her that. But now she's generating some of it on her own, being like, oh, I can do that.
But she processed the anxiety.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And it was like, oh, this is okay. So, so building the discipline of those small wins, and growth comes from being consistent. So in order to have your rise moments, you have to be consistent. people will often say it's because of, I don't have motivation. Growth doesn't come from being motivated. Growth comes from being consistent in your habits. So if you're consistently, habitually in a toxic pattern, you're going to be in a toxic pattern and you're going to be dysregulated and you're going to not have growth. When you're consistently having your non-negotiables, building your awareness, being responsive, not reactive, and staying in that aware mode, you're much more likely to have like this emotional regulation and feeling of like, oh my gosh, I'm getting wins left and right.
People are intimidated by this process because it seems so conscious and it seems so elaborate. Mm-hmm. When the negative patterns have been into a subconscious, and it's just been part of their working every day. So they look at the two as different, but after a while, if you start working these patterns, they become subconscious.
Well, and that's it. And I think that's one of the most revealing things to people, if they really think about it and they're willing to do the work, is when you can get someone to really see that the amount of time that they have spent to get into the pattern that they're already in didn't come overnight. They built that pattern. And people think, oh no, it's always been like this. No, you built that pattern.
Yep.
You built it, you watched it, you reinforced it, you stayed aware of it in a way, you reacted, you did everything opposite of what I'm telling you to do now, but that's how you built that pattern. That pattern just didn't get born into you. You watched, you learned, and you integrated it. So what you did is you reset your mindset to the negative world around you, you integrated it. You didn't stand up or stand out for yourself. You swallowed it in, and then there was no evolving.
Yep.
You evolved into this toxic cycle or a chaotic loop, but you didn't actually do the rise. You did a fall.
Yep.
I'll have to come up with whatever FA. I'll find some. I'll figure that one out, right? Okay, I was in my stackable wins. I'm thinking, okay. This one's, speaking of, facing like discomfort or the uncomfortability of growth, right? Because people get afraid of it because they like what they know. You dance with the devil, rather than the one that you don't, right? So I call that the growth zone. You're in the growth zone where the real, the E part of the rise, right? The real evolution happens outside the comfort. So again, the real evolution happens outside comfort. So this is the growth zone. You're facing the discomfort. So that means trying things that you fear. Remember a few weeks ago I said you're already courageous. Your confidence comes from taking the leap. If you're afraid of something, don't avoid it. Do it. Right? If someone wants to start a new business, someone wants, like, you got to, I'm launching a couple things in the next couple months that I haven't done before in a pure sense.
Yep.
I have no idea how it's going to be. I've already thought of I've got a plan B, a pivot plan, making but the goal is on it, making it work, even if I only have it start out small. But it came to me in the moment, back at this past beginning of January, all of a sudden, I'm why am I not doing that? Because it wasn't necessarily rooted in fear. It was more of the thought that I hadn't thought beyond the wall, so to speak. And I'm wait a second. So in a way, it was sort of a fear. It's I couldn't do that. But now I'm wait a second. Yes, I can. And it's weird because now that I've manifested it out in the world, how you buy a certain type of car and all of a sudden psychologically you start seeing it. All of a sudden I've been meeting all these people that are either divinely falling into my space or that are all related to somehow that, and they never were before. It's so weird how the
thoughts
world
become
works.
Things.
Yep, thoughts become right, and you are not your thoughts, but you can manifest stuff into your life, and it's just amazing.
What you focus on tends to happen.
Right?
Positively and negatively.
Right? Good, bad, or indifferent. Right? So if you think you can, you can. If you think you won't, you won't. Right? It's the same thing.
Yep.
So this growth zone is super important. So try things that you fear. Have difficult conversations with people, or put yourself, if you have to and you've avoided it, have them, because they release. What's it gonna lose for you? Nothing. Don't avoid and stuff, because people are people pleasers, right? Sometimes you have to have the difficult conversations. Take on a challenging goal. So
back to let go. Yeah. Back to letting go of outside influence, outside validation.
Yes,
that's the most valuable lesson.
And people,
Have the conversation that works for you, not what you're worried about the reaction's going to be.
Well, and that's the thing is people often sit around not doing for themselves based on what they think other people are going to think.
Yep. And that doesn't mean being selfish.
No, not at all. And that's that trained and socialized norming thing of like, oh, if you do that, then you're not being, a good person, or you're doing something that's like outside the norm. And it's fine. You just have that, right? If you can do one uncomfortable thing a week, that would be good. Right. And if that's taking on a challenging goal, like for instance, my thing is that I've taken on a challenging goal. And I'm working on it daily, and every week I'm like, okay, have I inched forward a little bit? Some weeks I'm like, ooh, I've inched forward. Like I was talking to you before the show today. I'm like, ooh, I inched forward today. Like big, I had a big leap because I was excited. Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow?
Yeah, right.
I have no idea, but I'm like, okay, so I'm going to build on that momentum today. And hopefully that will give me, maybe if tomorrow's a smaller day, that, maybe Friday's a bigger day, I mean, that's how it works.
But it's framing the setbacks as opportunity, as experience, as learning, as getting better.
And setback doesn't always mean setback. It could be just that some days are slower. Maybe the impetus to do things, or the time, like my Thursdays, I don't ever have time to do anything. So I'm like, because I teach 13,000 times a day, and I'm running between offices, but it's one of the most productive days I ever have in the week. And that's, it's so bizarre because it's my busiest day, but that is actually the psychological phenomenon is the more time you don't have, the more you find time to do. It's amazing because on a day that I choose actively to not do a lot, I literally, then I'm like, oh, I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, I got nothing done except in my head. I have a brain motivation thing, and I generate thoughts, but those are not days that usually I'm feeling good. Like I'll sit down and like watch a movie, and I'm like, oh, I could be doing something else, but I need to do the movie.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So try to do one uncomfortable thing every week. Step outside your shell. Oh, that's a pretty picture behind me.
I don't know what that is, but
I don't know either.
Yeah.
It's really pretty.
Looks European.
Well, I think it's in Italy somewhere. Well, that's pretty.
Could be.
Yeah. So in saying that, try to create also, because I'm building a plan for you to have like the most growth. Build a personal growth, like a vision. Have a vision. Define the person or the thing that you want to become. Define that for yourself. I have clients write what I call a future identity statement. That's not the same as saying where do you want to be in 5 years?
Yeah.
Which I hate that question because it's so ridiculous. It's the most ridiculous question. I mean, there are many, but that one's one of them. Such a bad interview question. I hate that. But do a future identity statement. Like, who do I want to be in a year? Not what do I want? Who? I want to be a person that has stayed consistent. This is the basic of it. I want to stay a person that has better emotional regulation. I want to have the ability to set a goal and know that 9 times out of 10, I'm hitting it. Like that's a future identity statement. Not, I want to be a millionaire and I would see myself growing in this company. No, that is, that's no. That's not going to work because it's too vague. It's too lofty. It doesn't work. It has no intention behind it. It doesn't have a plan. And that's where you have fail. And then people say, when I say, what did you learn in that? They're like, I don't know. I'm like, you went too big.
Yep.
And then people are like, but if you don't grow big, I'm like, yeah, you can have a goal that's big, but you have to do the stairs. You have to take you have to have awareness. You have to take your pauses. You have to be responsive to your daily self. And you have to remain a consistent pattern. So a daily, a future identity statement that I would make right now would be something like, I'm calm under pressure most of the time. I'm calm under pressure. I'm physically strong, minus a broken toe. Right. And I'm disciplined. And I'm becoming more emotionally intelligent. That's a future identity plan. Like you build that physical personal vision of yourself so that you're maintaining that. Now and write that down, put it in your book, put it on your notes and put it in your car, have a visual, very much about visuals because it changes the train track in your brain essentially to a new, better version of you.
So as he said, that when you quantify it like that, it becomes subconscious.
Right.
You don't have to read that thing all the time. You just see the paper in the car,
and it reminds you immediately that I'm strong. I am, Stuart Smalley. Remember him?
Yep.
I'm strong. I'm beautiful. I'm smart. Right. So, but as funny as it sounds, it's about being really serious. If you stay to this plan that I've given today and you break it down and make that personal vision statement, it's so important because you're constantly reminding yourself of that on it. And then on that vision statement, you take and you act that daily. If you are saying, I'm calm under pressure, did I act that today? Did I feel physically strong today? Did I work out? Did I stay disciplined to my habits that I've committed to myself? And did I learn something new and become more intelligent, both intellectually and emotionally today? Because I stayed that way, right? And you check in with yourself every single day and you say, okay, did I do that today? Am I that person today?
Yep.
And at the end of a month, you'll be like, oh my gosh. At the end of a week, it's amazing because if you can do that on a daily and then get to the end of a week and be like, oh my God, I did that. There's a new you right there.
It's internal control as opposed to being at the whim of externals.
Exactly.
Most people live, in the whirlwind of externals.
Yes. Right. And I think
and yes, externals do influence, but they don't have control.
Well, that's the thing. And I think such an important point is that people live in the externals have control versus they have influence and impact if you allow it.
Yeah.
Right. So if you don't allow it or you limit the allowing of it, because sometimes things do impact, but if you limit that, it works better. And so when we talk about emotional growth and having a growth rise plan, it's less about, I'm going to emphasize this so big. It's less about having big breakthroughs and this big thing, right? Which everyone's always like, yeah, I got to have this big thing. It's much less about that and way more about daily self-control and self-awareness. Personal self-agency, taking self-agency. And people are like, what does that mean? That's taking your own self-control and being in control of your mind, your body, your thoughts, your feelings, your reactions, your day-to-day, every kind of thing that you're doing. It's actually living. That's what living in the moment is.
Having your hands on the wheel.
It's having your hands on the wheel, not having like this crazy like feeling of like, well, nothing's in my control and whatever. Yeah. And that's how people walk around. That's why people are so anxious all the time, is because they don't put their hands on the wheel. They don't take responsibility for their own stuff. Everybody is into this, it's not my fault, it's everybody else's, or, lack of accountability. And it's like, okay, but you're waiting for this big, enormous thing to happen. But what are you doing to manifest it in your life? Because you're living in, and I call it with my clients, you're sitting in your shit. What are you going to do? Stop sitting in your shit. You got to take some self-agency here and have some self-awareness, daily self-control, make yourself a plan, commit to yourself. You're the most important person to have you be successful. Why are you waiting for someone else to do it for you?
People don't want to take responsibility for their own outcomes.
Right. And they also, they don't want to take responsibility a lot of times. And also people live in fear that if they do these things, what if they fail? So what?
So what?
So what?
That's you learn something.
You learn to pivot.
Yeah.
That's where you learn to adjust and pivot. I mean, and you can say it's cliche all day, but when you don't get it right, if you don't learn something from not getting it right. I mean, come on. That's like, what a great, that's how you learn.
Yep.
Right. If you get a 60 on a math test, well, your goal is to get a 90 on the next one or 100. You've got to learn something. Right? There's something that happened there that you have to learn.
I know kids get into that so much. They get derailed by that. And it's like, they're to learn. That's exactly what we're here for.
Exactly.
So,
or I have students now that, I have adult learners because I have like a graduate level, like classes. Right. And they're adults and they still will be like, I got an 80 on the exam. I'm like, it's one exam in thousands of daily tests that you have. In life. One exam is not a measure of who you are. Right. I have to say that to every single student, even when they're 100, people who are 100. I have one person that years later has said, you're the only person that ever gave me a B+ in my whole college career. I'm like, And they're stuck on that. And I always say, you're still stuck on that. You know, it's like been 15 years.
Yeah.
And now they're a colleague, right? And I'm like, you're stuck on the fact that I gave you a B+.
Especially when it's subjective,
like
a grade.
And I always say, I laugh. I say, I didn't give it to you. That's what you earned. Because it wasn't like papers that it was exams. This is how he tested. It's not my, not my circus, not my monkeys, but it's it's so funny. And he laughs because he knows he likes to rib, but I'm like, it's your B+.
It's funny you say that because I had a remembrance I was a hockey referee for a long number of years, and I called a penalty late, and the kid skated by me, and he said, it's a bad time to call that penalty. And I said, no, it's a bad time to commit that penalty.
And to the point, right?
Yeah,
and to the point,
yeah.
Right? And it's also to the, psychologically, it's to the point when someone says, why is this happening to me? And I say, why are you allowing it to happen to you?
Yeah.
Like, you have to take control there. If you allow something into your life, it's not happening to you. Something could happen to you, but what are you then going to do about it? You can lay there and just be like, well, it's happening to me. I'm just going to keep taking it.
Yeah.
Versus, what are you going to do about it? You don't have to do anything. I mean, you don't have to take anything.
My takeaway from the whole Michael Singer thing, it's like when something happens on the road, you don't jump in the back seat.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And
exactly.
That's what people do in life. They jump in the back seat,
right.
Take their hands off the wheel.
Right. Yeah. And hopefully people can like visualize that metaphor, because that is literally that's what anxiety is you have your hands off the wheel going, it's happening to me. No, it's not.
Yep.
You're allowing it to happen to you. That does not mean it's your fault, which some people, this
right.
is like, it means that you have to have the tools to be able to check in with yourself to say, okay, how do I get better control over this? Because I can't tell you, over the 30 some odd years of doing this, people say, I don't have any control over my anxiety. But you do.
Yes, no, you're generating your anxiety.
Right. Yeah. So, but when you have that happen, you have to have like a good either life coach who's a real life coach that's not just certified for 30 minutes on the internet, or you have to have a good doctor or a good person in your life that knows how to help you, or you find someplace that you can get the same assistance to get the growth skills that I just gave in our show today of how to do that. Now, I gave everybody a template today of how to do that. But now, to build it out, you have to be really self-dedicated to do that if you don't have someone helping you to sort of fill in all those blanks like I would do, right? So I give you a template, but you have to be able to do that. So anyway, I'm going to get ready to wrap, and thank you all for listening this week. I am off next week. Have a safe, great, wonderful week, and I will be back. And please go register to come to my event on March 28th at Time Out Boston.